the first, you might have heard an earthquake is striking, beginning a tsunami advisory for the coastal United States. And that earthquake, an 8.8 in far east Russia, and that spinning off into major, literally, ripple effects now as Hawaii was on watch or warning, Chris? Was it a warning?
Yeah, it was a warning. Now
warning.
It is an advisory.
An advisory?
So,
We'll get more to that.
And that goes until the early morning hours of Saturday.
All right, until Saturday.
Yeah, because the aftershocks. But you dealt with history with this event, and luckily this wasn't a massive populated on-land event, or also be mass casualties. And we still don't know the extent of the damage with that, saying it still wasn't unscathed by any stretch of the imagination. But let's bring up the graphic. So this is the largest earthquake, or the top 10 for the largest earthquakes of all time. 8.8 ties for the 6th place for the highest on the Richter scale recorded across the world. So world history as far as we're concerned, measuring the magnitude of earthquakes. So we haven't had one this strong since 2010, the one that impacted Chile. And the last time that Alaska even had one was 1964. You had one in 1965, but you don't really see Russia here on this list until 1952. So these don't happen that often. There's actually an average of every 10 years that you have one that reaches around a 9 on the Richter scale. So a little more detail, went down to a depth of 13 miles. So this is technically a massive thrust that physically moved the ocean floor, and that's why you have those tsunami risks. And a couple of, I wouldn't say fun facts, but facts about tsunamis is that a tsunami from an event like this can move upwards to 500 miles per hour. So if you're wondering how the timing is for Hawaii once this went off, they were immediately put under a tsunami watch and warning because they knew that something potentially could be coming from this, because they can time it with that average of 500 miles per hour and being about 3,000 miles away. So they knew the rough time that something could happen. And you might have the video here, I'm not sure, in the impact studio, but there was at one point you could see a time lapse of the ocean physically being pulled out. So this is very similar to what can sometimes happen with a hurricane. A hurricane, and when you're going to be so strong, it picks up all of the ocean water. It's literally a bulge, and it can do a lot of upwhelming that happens with this, but it can sometimes pull the sea towards it. This actually happened with Helene as it passed the Gulf Coast in some spots around Tampa because it was so strong and so powerful. So whenever you're having a tsunami as well, when it's approaching, sometimes it can kind of suck the sea back in before it crashes in. Now, the highest that I actually saw recorded for a site is about 4 feet in Hawaii, but there are some indications it could be as much as 7, but the only one I can say I personally seen with my eyeballs is 4 feet. So 8.8 happened at 7:24, but the reason why they're also under advisory is because of the aftershocks. These are all of the earthquakes that have happened over the last 24 hours. And reading some of the latest, one happens officially at 8:44 at a 5.2 magnitude. It was a big deal here in the Carolinas when we had the one that happened in Sparta, North Carolina. I believe that was a 4.1 to 4.4, somewhere in that range. Well, we're seeing that pretty much every 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, because then there was one at 8:33 about a 4.9, one at 4.6 magnitude that happened at 8:32. So yeah, and there's another one, 8:26, 5 magnitude. So there's just constant 5s that are popping up here. That is absolutely staggering, but that's also not too uncharacteristic whenever you have one of this size, because again, it averages once every 9 to 10 years. This does not typically happen. Again, the last one that we even reached this strength was about 15 years ago. So here's the Richter scale. This is where all these numbers come up. And just note that every category that you move exponentially increases the damage and the power with this. So for example, here on this map, 2, usually not felt. 4, there's noticeable shaking at that point. That's equivalent to 33,000 pounds of explosives. Once you get up to a 9, That's equivalent to 1 trillion pounds of explosives. So look at how much that is exponentially increasing from status to status, stage to stage. So that's always going to be a great to a near total destruction if it ever happens on land. We already saw what happened over in Myanmar not too long ago. That it was devastating, and that was actually in the 7s. So this is a historic event, and that's why they're going to continue to be on these tsunami advisories until further notice, because even though the aftershocks are mainly around a 5, there's no telling that this couldn't happen again. Does that usually happen? No, it's very rare, but that's why they're under that advisory, because if you get another 6 or 7, they're going to be seeing some high seas from place to place. So fingers crossed that we're not going to have anything that's hidden. Right now, there's no reported deaths or significant injuries. I know there were some minor injuries here in Russia, but this story truly isn't over. There's still a tsunami advisory until further notice. It goes until after midnight on Saturday. And then last but not least, of course, we also have the Pacific coast that is under an advisory as well. So that goes until the same time frame. And I believe that, did you see what the peak waves that arrived over on the Pacific coast? I think it was 3 feet, I think is what we saw.
No, I didn't see that yet.
Yeah, so it was not too long over the last hour. I just couldn't remember the exact height, but it was less than what we had in Hawaii. So the max waves that we've seen so many tsunamis are about 3 to 4, which, by the way, most of them are less than 10 feet. It's the ones that are over 10 feet are the ones that are historic. 3.5 feet. Okay, so yeah, 3 to 4 is the max we've seen so far. Again, this is a developing situation. It's just over now almost 14 hours that we've been talking about this. But again, a rarity. As for us, we're about to head into a rarity because we're going to see a big dip in the temperatures, transitioning over to weather. Sorry about that. We have a nice mix of clouds and sunshine, and today we're going to cloud things up just like yesterday. It's a beautiful start over here in Dallas. It's another humid one. We're seeing some rain down towards the south, but just like yesterday, I think you could really spark a storm as early as 11 o'clock, and you're going to continue to see on and off storms throughout the afternoon. So you might have been bit by one during the afternoon yesterday. They were heavy at times, while some areas barely saw a drop. I was at the grocery store about a mile from my house, and it poured. I went to my house, and we didn't have a drop all day. So that's how isolated they're going to be. From neighborhood to neighborhood, you're looking at different impacts. From county to county, you're looking at completely different statuses. And as we get a little bit closer to Friday, we're going to up our flood potential, and it's really because of a cold front. This cold front is going to slow down through the area. That's going to provide some more widespread rain. And the stationary front eventually is just going to stall out, and that's going to allow for a drier or a cloudier atmosphere for Saturday. And then once it finally moves, then you're looking at actually some drier air. So good news. But our rainfall chances are going to be elevated until then, scattered over the next couple of days, just like what we saw yesterday or didn't see yesterday, depending where you were. But it's a little bit more likely for your Friday. For your daily planner, high of 92. It's going to feel as much as 100 by the middle of the afternoon with those on and off storm chances, which, by the way, if you want to celebrate July 30th, there's other ways to do it. It's National Cheesecake Day, so a nice cool treat. National Share a Hug Day. So that's always nice. Of course, get consent.
I'm the right person.
And then we have a National Paperback Book Day.
Oh, who still has a paperback?
Oh,
I should read more. I do not read.
Yeah, I don't read enough. Actually, most of my books are paperback because I'm too cheap.
Audiobooks. I like.
I do like a good audiobook.
So no backs.
So no backs.
So backs.
No backs.
Paperback, hardcover.
Do Mad Libs count?
Yeah.
Sudoku here and there.
Oh no, I have several of those.
Yeah.
I actually just was starting to do Loco Sudokus.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yes, they're taking me much longer.
Different?
Instead of the 3x3 box, it's a bunch of different shapes that you have to connect to make the 1 through 9. It's a more challenge. So if you're already good at the hard ones, try some Loco Sudokus.
Okay, very good.
Okay, anyways, moving on. I'm here to talk about the weather, not the puzzles I do in my spare time. So you have a chance for a shower, as I mentioned, as early as 11 o'clock. This is just like yesterday. 11 to 2, you're going to see isolated storms. These become more scattered as we work our way through the afternoon. I think that we have plenty of moisture to get up to 100 for the real feel. That's going to be plenty of moisture and instability to provide storms to kind of collide with one another and form up until sunset. After that, things start to wind down. Then rinse and repeat. Tomorrow, I think it's a better chance after 1 to 2. They don't form as early, and it's more of a mid to late afternoon heading in the evening. We have storms that start to roll in as that low pressure system I showed you gets a little bit closer. But then here comes Friday. Friday is not a guarantee where these are going to be. Right now, it looks like west of I-77 gets the brunt of this. But if this happens, this is 7 o'clock, that's a pretty mean line of storms that is taking its time. If you see one storm after another and then things kind of start to bend back in around a low, that's where you're going to have a better flood potential. So we're not weather alert anymore for heat, but we will have a small window to stay weather alert because of the flood potential. Already, we have a medium threshold for a excessive rain event, which means chance for flash flooding. Low today, low tomorrow, but then once it's up to a medium, that should get your attention come Friday, because these events oftentimes will compound. So if you received a lot of rain yesterday, you do it again today, and say if you do it again tomorrow, and if you're having a training storm system, you have a chance that that flash flooding is going to happen just like that. Actually, I'm actually a terrible snapper. That one was actually not too bad, so I just want to pat myself on my... You guys are good. I'm not even going to replicate it because I'm
Years of snapping.
We do snaps.
That's really nice.
Snaps.
Especially with the jazz dancing, you have to
Yeah.
feel you have to be a
Snaps.
good snapper.
Jane and I are
Snaps.
both dancers, so snapping's
Dances.
been a part of our life for a long time.
And Zoom culture, we give snaps,
We
right?
snap.
Man, that's really good. You're going to have to give me a snapping
Anyway.
lesson after this. Anyways, flash flood risk later on Friday and Friday night. Training storms because you have tropical moisture. And that's another thing to mention. It literally is going to feel awful as far as the mugginess goes on Friday. You will notice the difference because that's going to surge in before the front. So just stay alert for updates. Great place to do that is WCNC+.
That's right.
Training storms. Here's how it happens. What happens is one storm pops up. Question, you two. Have you ever felt that breeze that just comes out of nowhere on a hot summer day?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
Well, oftentimes that is the outflow boundary of a thunderstorm because the rain, when it hits the surface, is going to provide what's called evaporational cooling. That evaporation cools the atmosphere, so sometimes it can cool as much as 10 degrees. For instance, there's actually a formula, and it's called the wet bulb temperature, that I can figure out what temperature that we could drop down to a minimum if it rains. That's 82. So if we hit 90 in the middle of the afternoon and it rains, temperatures could drop as low as 82 before they start to warm back up. But what's going to happen on Friday specifically, you're going to have these flows that push out, drive into that hot and humid environment, and it's more humid on Friday, especially along our front, that can form a new storm. So it can form a train like this. And if you have a conveyor belt, something to push it like a front, that is the best chance that you could have flash flooding. So that is the setup that we have for Friday, and I want everyone to be on guard for that potential. Once that front passes us, we cool down. This is the classic cold air damming. Doesn't always happen this time of year, but it'll be cloudier, and we could only have a high of 79 on Saturday, which, by the way, something we haven't done in over a month. And September 28th is the typical high that we usually have at 79. Meanwhile, 66 on Sunday morning is going to be breathtakingly beautiful, almost crisp, still a little bit on the sticky side, but that's the typical load that you have for the beginning of September. So note that we're about to change over to August. It feels like the wrong month, at least initially. So not lower 90s the next 3 days, either side of 80 through this coming weekend. Sunday and Monday feeling a little bit more on the comfortable side to borderline sticky, and then eventually temperatures will start to work back to where they should be, close to 90 at the end of next week. But enjoy the treat while we have it. Ben had the best quote earlier. He says, not every summer day needs to be a pool day.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Now, because oftentimes I like it personally because during the summertime, if it's sunny, you feel like you have to go. If Mother Nature's giving you an excuse to binge watch or kind of chill inside or be lazy.
You can still get the pool at
sleepies,
79, though.
the naps.
Yeah, but it's going to be really cloudy with on and off rain throughout the day.
It can be a golf day. It can be a binge day.
You can do whatever you want as
Spring
far as that
cleaning
goes.
day, summer cleaning.
Regardless, yeah, I'm still going to get outside just because, hey, it's upper 70s.
Yes.
It's going to feel great.
Yeah.
So enjoy it.
Enjoy mowing the lawn. That's the time.
I would
chores
actually
done.
mow the lawn over the next few days, especially, though, in the mornings before this rain starts to compile, by the way.
That's true.
Quick advice.
All right. Very good. Chris Mulcahy, thank you again, as always, as we